lists the social media sites utilized. It's going to be on I don't know, Facebook, Google, Yahoo, Motherless, etc. And this has got an investigative duration of 6 months. So we've got that information. The special agent in charge of that unit knows what this individual agent is doing. Similarly, they have procedures and processes whereby they keep that information, document those contacts for court. Those are all maintained within that particular criminal case file. Lastly, the social media monitoring tool. These are some products, technology that's coming out that enables us to look and see what's going on in a particular area, what kinds of things are going out on Twitter, and so on. Again, the purpose of this policy is not to hamstring. When you've got an event going on, there is going to be a public safety concern. And so in order to use the social media monitoring tool, we require that we have an authorized use of criminal investigation, criminal intelligence development, crime analysis, and situational assessment reports. That's, in our experience at GBI, the crime analysis and situational assessment reports is what we've been using it for, i.e. during sporting events, demonstrations, or other large gatherings that require law enforcement presence to ensure the safety of the public. We have a request, and this one was too complex to put on the screen, but I'll just give you the high points. The Fusion Center, GSAC, made a request during the election last year to put the social media monitoring tool in place for a period of days prior to the election. And I'll just give you an example. The product is called Digital Stakeout, but it uses the memo, the request memo describes what the product is going to do, the social media monitoring tool. Uses agency-developed parameters to review public social media posts, including Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and others. It does not access private or secure accounts. The search parameters for this assessment will focus on posts that address specific government locations, for example, the Georgia Capitol, and or leadership and express threatening language. Digital Stakeout provides those posts to the analysts. The analysts will identify posts of interest based on the level of the threat and conduct any necessary follow-up. Only posts that express intent or seek to incite violence, criminal activity, or intend to do physical harm to an individual will be followed up with investigative steps. And the information will be used to assist law enforcement personnel in maintaining public safety for the event. And then if there's no criminal activity, the information will be retained in more than 14 days. And if it does indicate a criminal nexus, it will be retained in an intelligence report, suspicious activity report, or case file, as directed by our policy. So, that seems pretty basic. I mean, as I'm reading it, y'all are thinking, well, duh, that's what I would expect law enforcement to do. But this memo, this is no secret. I think the majority of the citizens in the state of Georgia would be very comfortable that this is what we did for this period of time to ensure public safety. And then there's a memo at the conclusion of the use. We do have the provision in our policy that we can use it for up to 90 days. We personally never have at the GBI, but there may be some high-risk areas, public safety areas, that you may need to use it for long periods of time. If you need to use it longer than 90 days, there's a provision for making a request for more time. But then at the conclusion of the use, there's another memo that's submitted through the chain of command addressing whether or not there was any information that was obtained that was being maintained. In this particular case, this memo serves as an after-action report that no criminal activity was detected through the use of this social media monitoring tool, and no information was retained. A total of 5 crime analysis and situational assessment reports were distributed to the Georgia State Patrol Capitol Police. So the event went on. the social media monitoring tool was churning, providing information. There were 5 posts of interest that may have indicated a threat to public safety. Those were forwarded on to the appropriate law enforcement personnel at the scene, investigated, and there was nothing found to have occurred, and there was no criminal activity, thankfully, during that time period. And then we turned it off. So again, I feel almost like, oh, this is pretty simple, but this sort of memorandum, when we get a request or there's a question to Director Keenan, well, what are you doing and why are you doing it? Well, that's what we're doing. And I think with those kinds of very narrow and carefully thought through uses, then if we do get challenges, if there is a question about the use of these types of products, I think the courts are going to say, yes, this is a reasonable law enforcement activity, and that it makes sense to use it under these circumstances. All right, and now we are going to turn it over to Jeff.